Hi, BookTube. Becky here, the female half of the Bookish Bryants. Today you just get me. Scott's feeling kind of poorly, and there's a book I really wanted to review. Um, Say hi to Link. He says hi. He's dying for attention. All right, you're just gonna have to get down for a minute. This is very difficult to do. So today I wanted to review for you the book Abandoned by Blake Crouch. I don't have the paper book because I read it on Kindle, but there's the cover. It's a great cover, it really is. It sort of brings home the idea of the abandoned ghost town. Now the book was, referred to me by one of my favorite people in the world. Blake Crouch is one of her favorite authors, and she hadn't read the book yet, but it's Blake Crouch. You can't go wrong, right? And let me famous last words. Let me read to you this synopsis. It's amazing. It says, on Christmas Day in 1893, every man, woman, and child in a remote mining town will disappear. Belongings forsaken, meals left to freeze in vacant cabins, and not a single bone will be found. Not even the gold that was rumored to have been the pride of this town. 113 years later, two backcountry guides are hired by a leading history professor and his journalist daughter to lead them into the abandoned mining town so they can learn what happened. This has been done once before, but the people who went in did not come out. With them is a psychic and a paranormal photographer. The town is rumored to be haunted. They've come to see a ghost town, but what they are about to discover is that 20 miles from civilization, with the blizzard bearing down, they are not alone, and the past is very much alive. This sounds awesome. I am so there. There's psychics, and there's ghosts. There's a haunted ghost town. If only that were what this book was about. That's not what happened. That's not even sort of the synopsis for this book. And you know that I'm absolutely certain that the people who wrote the synopsis were thinking we're going to sell this idea of an abandoned paranormal romp through a ghost town and give them something else. But it's almost like you're driving in a car with somebody with commitment issues, and they stop and then just do a complete 90-degree and say, no, we're going to go over here, because the paranormal aspect of this story is just the fact that there are paranormal investigators there. That's it. That's it. So I think I was all excited. I was really excited about the idea of visiting this old abandoned ghost town. This kind of like Roanoke. Everybody just suddenly disappears one day, and there's this great mystery around it, and we might have some ghosts. Maybe there'll be an elemental or a demon or something, and there's going to be psychics. It's going to be great. And nothing like that happens. Nothing at all. Now, I like to think I'm fairly resilient. I can go along with it with a story change. But there were a handful of things wrong with this story, wrong with the whole thing, that really bothered me, that kept me from enjoying the book just almost entirely. I'm sorry. So there's the storytelling aspect of Abandon. Don't tell me that a book is going to be about something and then just tell me something else. It's just rude. That's not how you do these things. And another thing that really, really upset me, it's something that dragged me out of the story very quickly, and it was the author's use of colloquialisms and anachronisms. And the story, it shifts back and forth between 1898 and I think it's 1898 and 1990 and 2009 or something. It's, for the sake of expediency, it's between 1898 and present day. And that's great. It's a great way of keeping suspense going for a group of for an audience. But there's a point between it keeping suspense going and it being really frustrating. And the author hits that point and sails right on by. um, so you'll have a long block of the 1898 things that are happening, and it'll go back to the present day, and you'll have a 3-page chapter where the characters in the present day move forward like 3 feet, hit a cliffhanger, and we go back to 1898. And it's almost like you're getting whiplash. You're not getting anywhere. You move forward 3 steps and then you stop while we go back to the past. And that's frustrating enough, but when he's fleshing out every single character who lives in abandon in 1898, I'm talking every man, woman, and child who lives there, in the dialogue, he puts all of these colloquialisms and things, their phrases, their manners of speech that they don't apply anymore. Like, you're pulling the sheet on me, and are you stretching the sheet on me? I'm like, no. And he puts it in just about every single sentence. There are times when these people are talking back and forth, and they're saying these things that really don't make any sense. And I get the idea that he's wanting to make it authentic, to really drag his audience into the time period. But after a while, it slogs you down. It makes it to where reading the story is no longer interesting, and it's just more of a chore. And that's just really, really frustrating, and it'll drag you out of the story in a hurry. So that's another thing that's really buggy. But one thing, the biggest problem that I have with this story, honestly, is the bad things for the sake of bad things. When I started to read the story, I'm expecting a good horror story. Haunted ghost town, paranormal investigators, there might be some scary stuff going on. This isn't a horror, it's a thriller. And it's in storytelling, there's usually a semblance of a linear path. Everything that you put in your story is designed to get your audience from point A to point B. If we're reading like a really simple romance, you're going point A to point B. Boy meets girl, they fall in love, happy ever after. For mysteries, you get a little bit more of a convoluted path if you take little twists and turns, but you're still getting from point A to point B. And everything that goes in that linear path, even if it's twisty, there's a reason for it. There should be a very good reason. It should further your story. My issue comes when you throw bad things into your story, the bad things that are happening to your characters, just for the sake of bad things happening. When you throw in really, really bad events that happen to really good people that you've made your audience really care about, just for the sake of your audience going, what? That's a problem. It'll make you mad at the story, and by the time the story's over, you're like, I don't care if these people die. By the time I got to the end of this book, I didn't care who lived or died, and everything bad happened to everybody. There was nothing to break the tension of it. There was nothing to bring you home and make you feel like you'd accomplished something by reading this book. So I didn't like Abandon. I don't know if you can tell. I really tried. I have a hard time laying down a book in the middle of reading it. I can't bring myself to just lay down a book that I've gotten halfway through. It has to get better. I'm a hope springs eternal kind of person. It has to get better. And it did not get better. It just didn't. So this one was frustrating for me. I'd love to know what you guys' thoughts on it were. Just maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit too sensitive. I started it out irritated. So the second book that I'm going to talk about, because I read 2 books in like the last week, and Abandon I actually read last month, but it's been irritating me ever since. So I'm going to go to something that I really enjoyed, and just leave Blake Crouch in the dust. So I read this. It's called Crime and Poetry by Amanda Flowers, and it's about a young woman who's called home to her hometown under the guise that her grandmother is sick, like dying sick. She gets there, grandma's fine. Grandma's just been trying to get her to come home, and she hasn't been coming home because something really, really awful happened in her past, and the town is kind of a reminder of all that. And it's so much fun because I think we already know I do love my cozy mysteries with a paranormal aspect to it, and the idea that this bookshop is paranormal. The bookshop will it'll literally chuck books at people, and a lot of the time the books that fly off the shelves are they're fortune telling. They foreshadow what's coming in the future, and it's just so much fun. The main girl, Violet, she is set to inherit this bookstore, and she doesn't want it because she'll have to stay in this town, and the town has nothing but bad memories for her, so she's a little antsy about it. But it was a lot of fun. It got slow in a couple of parts. It's of course it's a cozy mystery, so somebody dies, and it's a really good guy who does so, and Violet has to clear her grandmother's name because, of course, Grandma is the first person that they suspect. So Violet has to clear her grandmother's name, and it goes into all the investigating that she does, and it kind of got a little draggy there during some of the investigations, but of course it's a dyed-in-the-wool cozy mystery, so you have the the romantic interest, which happens to be 3 guys. Really? 3 guys. These things do not happen in real life. It's just doesn't happen. But still, I think it was a lot of fun. And one thing I really liked about this story is it has an everything coming together sort of vibe at the end. Things that have been sort of hinted at throughout the entire story just sort of all comes together in one really neat little puzzle at the end. And it makes you feel like you've accomplished something at the end, because the whole time you've been keeping these little tidbits of information in the back of your mind, and at the end you're like, oh, I remember that, and so you end the story with a really big smile on your face, because it's fun. It's not high literature by any means, but neither is Abandon. I mean, let's just be honest. But it's a great way to spend a couple of hours. It's one of my favorite ways to spend a couple of hours, honestly, is with a good cozy mystery. So those are my 2 reviews for the day. The next book I'm going to be reading is it's a mystery. It's a straight up mystery. It's The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. It's on my February reads list, and it's about an autistic kid who's going to solve the case of a dead dog that he really cared about in his neighborhood. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'll let you know what I think. But that's all I have to say. So drop me a comment if you agree or disagree. I get it. Blake Crouch is really a really prominent author. But upon looking on Goodreads, this wasn't exactly one of his highest rated books. So maybe I just started in the wrong place. Maybe I should start with the Wayward Pines novels. Yeah, I think I might do that. I didn't like the show, but from what I heard, the show is nothing like the books. So maybe I'll be surprised. I'll give that a shot. Let you know. So have a good evening, BookTube. We'll talk later. Bye.